fastest way to create wealth is to find a problem and solve it, but then scale it. Replicate the same idea in many places. You can't create wealth running things the same old way. So anything you can replicate can make you a millionaire. If you cannot replicate a particular business, you need to look at it again, because it might not create wealth. Creating wealth without effort will require that you know the journey from where you are to where you want to be. Many think it's tough. Many say the money doesn't grow on trees. However, it depends on which tree you are climbing. The answer lies on you moving from a tedious process of wealth creation to knowing the right process. You see, wealth creation is like having two things. First one is a bottle, a container. Second one is a pipeline. While the bottle in your hand has a limit, the number of the amount of water it can hold, a pipeline can have millions and millions of liters of water go through it. So you're either carrying a container around or you become a pipeline. And I want you to know you can be a pipeline, and so much wealth can go through you. The pipeline will bring the water whether you're sleeping or working, while the container will only hold. 95% of people on earth are just carrying containers. They're carrying buckets all over the place. Come Monday morning, the whole of the streets of London will be jammed with people who wake up in the morning. You've known my song. Wake up in the morning and rush to work, come back home and have some food, watch television and go to bed. Tuesday, they'll do the same thing again. Wake up in the morning and rush to work, come back home and have some food, watch television, and go to bed. So 95% of people on earth are bucket carriers. And please, my session may make you say a bit of ouch, but that's the reason you're here. So you can say ouch and you can move forward. And I do hope that you do move forward. Too many people are bucket carriers. Let me just put it point blank. If you just depend on one source of income, you are a bucket carrier. And that could limit your capacity. So you need to be a person who is a passive money maker beyond the active. You need to be able to go beyond the buckets. So there are 9 R's that show where people are when it comes to finance. Some of us are in the first R. And this first R has to do with rates. What's rates? Rates has to do with living on a salary, an amount that have been fixed for you by the place where you work. And let me tell you, in 2024, it's difficult to plan and save effectively based on rates. There'll be pressure on you from work, and it will affect your work-life balance because you've got to go to work. They wouldn't pay you if you don't go to work. So people who live on rates are going to find it very challenging. And if you live on rates, therefore, while that's the only thing you have, you need to be familiar with the salary trend in your industry. Build your case with those who you work with. Tell the truth about where you are and factor in all the perks and the benefits you can get from them. Get everything in writing. Stay positive. Challenge where you work. Tell them you need a better rate. But they can never pay you beyond the bar they've already fixed. I want to take you through all the 9 R's so that you can really make some quality decisions. As a matter of fact, what I'll be teaching in these 9 R's is like bringing together with what our first speaker spoke about, what Hakim Ogundoran spoke about, what Olumide Emmanuel spoke about, and what I'm sharing, and what the next person is. So, and Nola also, what Nola shared. The second R is not just rates, the amount you are paid, but remuneration. That is a total package, what you earn, your total package. And if you do not work, you are in trouble, so there's no remuneration. In other words, remuneration is tied to you showing up at work. If you don't show up, you don't get paid. Whereas if you listen to ASHIMOLOWO, or if you listen to Nola or the last speaker, you'll find that you can create a system that's beyond waking up in the morning to go to work somewhere. Something can be put in motion that continues to work for you even when you are not at work. Am I making sense? I said, am I making sense? So you see, good salary is determined by location, experience level, education, and the industry in which you are. But if that's all you have, if all you have is remuneration, then make the best of it for the moment. Make your employers know why you deserve that remuneration. I had to sit with somebody during the week. He has sent me a long text to say why he may need to resign his employment with us, and I need his services. So I said, okay, come sit down, tell me why I should change your remuneration. And so he begins to make his argument. One, the cost of transportation, because we changed our offices. We used to have an office separate from where the estate we're building is. And so I now said, no, I want everyone on site so we don't pay rent elsewhere. And also when people who bought land or properties from us come, I don't want them to first go to our office somewhere and the site is somewhere else. It cuts down on our costing. It also makes people responsible. But it increased his own transport. It increased his own challenge. And so he had to make an argument as to why I should either increase his salary or he's moving on. And he's a person who is very experienced, and he's making his argument in the middle of when we're approaching a bank sourcing for some money, and he's the one who knows how to put this argument together. I don't know how to. So the guy is smart, man, you know what I'm saying? He said, I'm resigning, and he's the chief financial officer. I don't know how to put those kind of arguments together. I can talk the talk, but I don't know how to do the figures. So you need to know how to argue your remuneration. You need to understand the constraints of where you work also. You need to consider the whole deal. If this is all you have, remember again, we started with R number 1, which is what? Rates. R number 2, which is remuneration. I have a whole teaching for ladies. And I don't know if you've ever listened to me do that, or if you come on the Wealth Master class, you need to go look for it on our site. I did a whole intense teaching for women. With all due respect, women are the least when it comes to knowing how to argue for a bigger salary, a better salary. Women are the least when they always process salary with the right side of the brain. The right side of the brain is emotion, the left is logic. Women will say, well, at least I'll have time to take care of my children. At least I'll be able to close on time. Hey, that should not be your first consideration. Your first consideration is what I'm bringing to the table. Is somebody getting it? So remuneration should not just be based on, oh my God, look at the salary they told me. Yeah, it could be a fat salary and yet not be paying you well. May have not taken care of your transportation, may have not taken care of many other things like the guy I mentioned earlier. So rates, remuneration. But then number 3, if you want to create wealth, on your way to creating wealth and becoming a millionaire. How many would like to be a millionaire here? Let me see your hand. All right. How many are already millionaires here? Let me see your hand. Are you doing it by faith or you? All right. Number 3, therefore, is the third R is replication. I like you to say replication. Look at me. The fastest way to create wealth is to find a problem and solve it, but then scale it. Replicate the same idea in many places. Let me give you an example. Here in the United Kingdom, having lived in the United Kingdom for 40 years, I can tell you I understand our community. One of the common jobs ladies create in our community is hairdressing. You cannot be a millionaire through hairdressing, but you can also be. If you have one shop here in Walthamstow and your take home every day is £150, £200, you cannot be a millionaire. But if your hairdressing shop were called Hibiscus, and you had Hibiscus Walthamstow, Hibiscus Stratford, Hibiscus where else? Huh? Where did you say? Brixton, Hibiscus Brixton, Peckham, my favorite. Peckham. You get a lot of customers in Peckham. Hibiscus Romford. How many do we have now? We're having about 8 or 10. Deptford. That's too close to, okay, no, Deptford is okay. Yeah, Hibiscus, Deptford. So Lewisham, people in Lewisham will come to you. People in Lee will come to you. People in Maidstone. Okay, that's the new movement of the people. Movement of the people. You know, people are moving to Essex and Kent. Basildon. So you have people in Essex. So now, Hibiscus now has about 15 shops. If the income of Hibiscus, bad income per day, is £150 times 15, what do we have? 2,250. Let us say you only work 6 days a week. 2,250 times 6 days a week is what? 13,500 a week. And we're talking 13,500 after the people have been paid. So what came to you as the owner of the shop is 13,500 a week times 52 weeks equals to what? £702,000 a year. You're on your way to become, because you scaled. But you see, if you do not scale, you remain on the same spot. So the creation and operation of a large number of similar outlets that deliver products or perform a service is what we call replication. The reason many people do not create wealth, and I've not gone to real estate, we're still talking something else, is that they don't replicate. In fact, if you go to the common shop and stores run by people in our community, the owner is sitting there, they are in charge, they are watching so that somebody does not steal. You can't create wealth running things the same old way. I hope I'm making sense. So replication allows for better traffic. Replication allows multiplication beyond the norm. Replication allows better optimized service. If you notice earlier, I mentioned McDonald's. Big Mac is Big Mac anywhere you go. Whether it is London or New York, Big Mac is still Big Mac. But the only thing is they've replicated. So there are 25,000 McDonald's in the United States of America alone. 25,000. They don't sell anything different from the same beef between a piece of bread and some fries. But they have so mastered it that the replication makes them to be available almost everywhere. So anything you can replicate can make you a millionaire. It takes away stress. It creates a scaling. In fact, you scale through constraining yourself. You scale through concentration of your skill. You scale through supply chain. So it's interesting. I've had to talk to people who run a franchise. They have to buy their chips. They have to buy the meat in between, the bread from the same source. McDonald's controls everything. So the supply chain is the same. In other words, this makes them to be able to continue to create wealth. So you scale through demand, and you scale through thinking big. So nothing stops you from finding a problem, solving the problem, but solving it in many places. I like you to say many places. If you only solve it in one place, you can only make the money in that one place. But if you have it in several places, you then find that people don't have to travel to have an experience of what they got from your shop. That's why if you enter any of the stores, it's like a replication of the one elsewhere. Tesco is Tesco anywhere you go, except for a few local specifics they will put in an area because there is a concentration of certain people. You might just enter Tesco in Layton and find plantain, but you will not find it in Windsor because it wouldn't sell in Windsor. Am I making sense? Sorry, say replication. Replication is necessary for leveraging. I like you to say leverage. When you replicate, you have leverage on time. So it means the same thing is being sold, or the same produce, the same product, the same opportunity. Hibiscus hairdressers opened 9 a.m. in 15 places, so they have leverage on time. They've leveraged on good partnership. They've leveraged on vendors. They've leveraged on opportunities, and they've leveraged on mentors. I hope it's making sense. So if you cannot replicate, look at me again. If you cannot replicate a particular business, you need to look at it again, because it might not create wealth. Almost every speaker I've talked about real estate. Even real estate, if you cannot replicate the same terrace building, if you get your, in fact, most architects nowadays, if they design for you, they'll say, how many buildings are you getting out of my design? Because if you are going to build 100, he will charge you something for each one, because he also needs to replicate his copyright. Am I making sense? So if Mr. Hakim comes to me, I know he runs Eximia. If I were an architect, Mr. Hakim comes to me and says, I want you to design our new terrace building. I will ask him how many units, because the unit determines what's also coming to me. Replication is so powerful. But the fourth, if you're going to create wealth, where did we start from? Which was the first R? And the greater number of people on earth are at rates. They are bucket carriers. They will carry bucket on Monday morning, 9 to 5. Wake up in the morning, rush to work, come back home, have some food, watch television, go to bed. Wake up in the morning, rush to work. Look at me, I travel a lot. It's not a London problem alone. It's global. I went to speak in Washington, Maryland, and I have to catch my flight out of Dulles Airport, Washington. My flight is 9 a.m. to Toronto, and I was told I need to leave my hotel by 4. I said, why? They said the road will be jammed by people who wake up in the morning, rush to work. So people wonder, why can't I create wealth? They do not realize that they've chosen R number 1 or R number 2. So you need to begin to move to R number 3. But then from R number 3, you need to move to R number 4, which is what Hakim Ogunira spoke about, which is what Nola spoke about, which is what Olumide Emmanuel spoke about, which our first speaker also made allusions to. Is somebody hearing me? And that is rent. if you have buildings you rent out, it therefore means that income flows from as many places as you have rented out. So you can rent out apartments, you can rent out offices, you can rent out event venues, you can rent out even campsites. Land can be rented out. One of the largest land renter person in the whole of the United States of America, for example, is Bill Gates. Bill Gates owns 15 million acres of land, and he's rented it out to farmers. He doesn't want to know what they grow as long as they pay his rent. 15 million acres of land belongs to him. The second large landowner in the United States of America is Ted Turner, the owner of CNN. As they make profits, as he draws his own director's drawing from CNN, he pours it into land ownership so that he's achieving 2-3 things at a time. Number one, he loves preserving nature. But number two, he rents out some of the land. So rent is money just flowing to you. And landlords don't bother their head. I thought Mr. Ogunen was going to talk about, for example, one of the biggest we're beginning to discover, for example, in Africa is warehouses. Many people don't realize the amount of rent. We just came back from Africa where we went to hold a big crusade. How many of you were there? It was awesome. But as you were having a good time, I was getting worried about the rent payment. Because CCRW rent was due in September. The man who owns the warehouse owns 60. Each one is about 20 million Nigerian currency. Now help me to calculate 20 million times 60. 1.2 billion. This guy, for doing nothing, the warehouse is just warehouse, nothing. In fact, our rent was 23 million. So he sent us a text, your rent was due in September. If I don't get my rent by the end of today, I found it by force. I found the rent. I think it was Wednesday or Thursday. I just saw the text forwarded to me by our COO. If I don't get my rent by the end of today, 23 million had to show up somewhere. The guy actually endured for us once we told him what we do. He said, okay, I'll give you. He increased his rent by 15% and gave us 5% discount. He still increased. It still increased. 23 million for an empty shell. He built 60 of its kind. What is it? Just block of wall, that's all. You don't like it, pack your load. Those of you who were with us know just our sound and stage equipment will almost fill this church. So all the guy did was just get land and build 60. And the place is always occupied. In fact, if you ever drove on the streets of that city, you find that on the road there's this popcorn in a red pack. One of the warehouses was rented by people who make that popcorn. At least they are making daily money. I'm not making daily money, you know. But the guy does not want to hear a story. 23 million from us times 60. Can you see the power of replication and rent? How many of you are getting something from today's teaching? Let me see. Because some of us, all we've done is we just wonder, what is wrong with me? And you've been fasting and fasting. Don't kill yourself. Along with your fasting, get all these people's teaching and let it change your life. Is somebody hearing me? Rental properties allow you to leverage the asset you have. Properties appreciate in value while bringing in rental money. So this guy whom I mentioned, with those 60 warehouses, the place is appreciating while he does very little, and yet it's bringing him money. It creates power for passive income. So it's passive income for this guy. Passive time is increasing the value of his warehouse. In fact, I've told myself it must not take Crusade CCIW more than 2 years to build our own warehouse. Because we have I have the land I can give the Crusade. I have a 1 acre site I could give them to build. It gives you cash flow. That is, rent of property gives you cash flow. I like you to say cash flow. You're able to outsource to property managers also. I've never met the guy, and he's collecting my 23 million every year. He just says, oh, I have respect for that man. I see what he's doing. I'll give him 5% discount. Thank you very much for 5%. So, choose a good rental business idea and build a solid business plan. Build a solid business plan. One of the things Mr. Ogunera didn't tell you is that he built one of the most powerful logistics companies in that country. And they move things. Many don't even realize that's another thing. You just see large trucks moving. You didn't know that that's what some people are doing. They ensure they got money, bought some large trucks. They're into logistics. The company that helped us to move our equipment and the food we distributed and the medicine charged us for the event we had about 30 million Nigerian currency. Jeez. That's where the money goes, man, you know what I'm saying? Other rental business include wedding equipment supplies. Did you know that's a big business? Party supplies, furniture rental. I didn't know furniture rental was big until we built a home. It was a surprise house for my family. Furniture we ordered didn't arrive on time from Italy, and my family was about to come to the house. And someone said, yeah, there's a furniture rental company. What do you need? How many beds do you need? You mean people rent out beds? They had everything for rent. And they charge very well. What they do is, in fact, is that by the time they only do 4 or 5 rentals, they've gotten the money of the original buy. The remaining rental is profit. Vehicle rental services, you heard what I just said. You see, because I don't want to put so much money in logistic trucks for our crusade, because we only run once a year. If I buy trucks, then it sits down, and anything you pack, what happens to it? It depreciates. Next time you just see the tires gone, they say, but nobody's driving. Why did it go down? Yeah, it will. Clothes rental. Not every wedding you go to that they bought those dresses you're looking at. Storage rental. The worldwide vehicle rental market is worth $92 billion. Just vehicle rental. I don't know if this is where to say it, but I like to shock you by letting you know that Uber is now worth $11 billion, but they don't own one vehicle. Did you hear me? They don't own one vehicle, they just own an idea. So study how big the car rental industry is where you live, find where you belong, see what you can do. 4 or 5 ladies in this place can start something. You can start whatever name you call it, a ladies Uber. I've not seen many ladies Uber in London. 4 people can come together, put it together, have a strong legal documentation, create something. Know the size of potential customers for the area, what external factors affects the business, what are the key costs of launch. So I'm sure you got that of rent now. Is it clear? I said, is it clear? I want to move away from this hour of rent. Rent could include equipment. I like you to say equipment. We have our own 2 big generators which we hold for our crusade, which we just had in Africa, but I didn't want stories. I had to rent another one that was much bigger than our own, and they charged me about 6 million Nigerian currency for 6 days. I'm kicking something for renting it, but I'd rather do that. Can you imagine? We had every night, the least number of people in the crowd was 60,000 people. Imagine the power going off. That's all the press would write. I would rather pay the price. The people who rented it to us, that's the second one I'm renting from them. Our estate has the biggest water show in Africa, and we're waiting for 2 generators coming from the United Kingdom. But while we're waiting, we had to rent from them. They rented out to us a generator that is 800 kVA at 8 million a month. Oh yeah. Somebody is smiling while you are just walking around looking for a job. Wake up in the morning, rush to work, come back home, have some food, watch television. We need to stop that in our community, and you will be the first to stop it, because something's going to happen in your life. Change is coming. Tell someone change is coming. Number 5 out of the 9 is royalty. Oh my God, royalty. Every time you went on, what are all those platforms where you listen to music now? Spotify. I know you know all the names. Every time you click, and they only charge you 10, 20p, or I don't know how much they charge. I don't know how much. How much does Spotify charge per listening? A couple of p's. It has become the biggest source of wealth creation for musicians today. In the past, you have to produce the record, take it to record stations, take it for distribution. But listen, the Internet of Things have changed the world and the way it operates. That's why the largest music in places like the United States of America today is music from Africa. Some guy just goes, he makes noise, I'm not available. The next thing, it makes him $1 million in a month. What did he say? I'm not available. Meanwhile, you are looking for what to create. So royalty is payment made for the right to use copyright materials. In the United Kingdom, in the Western Hemisphere, they don't play your music without paying you. In some places I shall not mention, they'll play it. And if you quarrel, they will say, we are helping you to play your music. We own a TV station in this church. You find that we don't play too many music because everyone whom we play, on principle, we pay them, because we are a station of integrity. Because royalty is powerful. Royalties come from work as a musician, as an author, as an actor. Royalties. One product can change your life. He was looking at prison. He was going to go to prison when Lord Archer wrote his first book, Shall We Tell the President? It sold like crazy and changed the story. I don't agree with her books. She was looking at bankruptcy as a single parent when suddenly she wrote the book for Harry Potter, and the rest became history. And in the history of mankind, maybe you don't know, she's the most sold author ever, outside of books like the Bible. Most sold. She was going
The book was rejected by 57 publishers before his wife picked it up and got it printed. The Power of Positive Thinking by Norman Vincent Peale has been translated to close to 100 languages. Royalty. As a musician, you can play live, sell merchandise, offer fan subscription, collect public performance royalties, collect all mechanical royalties, license your music, social video monetization, make money from YouTube, teach music, special music sponsorship. There are many of us who are here. We don't even realize the power of royalty. Creation of it, intellectual property, intelligence, YouTube skits, any creation. Apple has income of more than the GDP of several nations because of royalty. I like you to say royalty. Apple has income. So the sixth R, because I want to rush this, I know you haven't had a break in between. The sixth R out of the 9 R's is the R of rights. Rights is similar to royalty, but it is a little different. It helps brand recognition. For example, franchise. When someone is given franchise or the right to sell or produce, it makes them instant millionaires. For example, there's a gentleman who practically has the rights to almost all the major telephones in my home country. And so every day he sells, every week he sells between 15 and 20 million dollars of phones and computers. Every week. 15 to 20 million dollars. Every week. Every week. Everyone comes to buy from him. Franchise gives you power. There will be lower failure rates if you don't know how to handle it, but if you know how to handle rights, it increases your capacity. There's lower risk when you are given rights. There's built-in customer base when you are given the rights. Look at me. Why would you have a hotel in Kampala bearing Sheraton? Because of rights, because of all the customers that know that name. Why would you have, I remember being in Lusaka, Zambia, why would you have a hotel like Radisson Blue in Lusaka? Because of the name. Because once I see Radisson Blue, I know that the same standard, Radisson Blue London, Radisson Blue Lagos, Radisson Blue will be maintained. That's the power of rights. I like you to say rights. So you need, look at me, look at me, look at me. When you solve a problem and it is increasing in your hand, begin to one day create a system where you can franchise it. You didn't get me? So that people can come to you and say, oh my God, this thing you created, can I take it to Sweden? And you gave them rights and you said, we give you the rights to represent us, to sell the product, to make it happen. Number one, for the rights, you pay us $50,000 or $500,000, and you buy the core material for it from us every day. That's how many people operate. You see, when you see a hotel in another country, first of all, for the name, they pay $500,000. Just for the name. Just for the name to be in that city, they paid $500,000. Then for any material, I remember the young lady who used to be very close to me, she was going to be with the Lord, died during COVID. She was going to furnish Marriott Hotel in the city of Lagos, Nigeria. She said they would not change anything, even where she said, can't we just change this to reflect Africanness? They said, no, you want our name? You do what we want. You want the right to use our name, our franchise, you do it the way we want. But you know, you too can reach that place where your name is something to be carried as a right. Your product has that kind of endorsement. So be your own boss. It will help you to raise capital. It will increase the speed of your growth. It will increase your profitability. It will help you to reach greater market, because when you were creating it, you had in mind the fact that some people will be part of what you want to create. You could have 1,000 pipelines working for you every day that way. So when you leave a city, you find that the same store exists somewhere else, because they gave the rights. You can't look at Leighton High Road today and open, let's mention one of those. You can't open Pizza Hut. The next day, their lawyer will show up and say, where is the rights, the franchise we gave you? He said, well, I like the name because Pizza Hut sells, so I thought I should also open because they did not give you the rights. So I am hoping that one day your business will reach this R. Number 7 of the R's is the R of returns. I like you to say returns. Returns is when you begin to receive dividends on investments made. Mr. Akim Ogunira told us about REITs, real estate investment trusts. We heard about buying shares from other people. So when you begin to receive returns, this is an informal income. It's not having to do with wake up in the morning, rush to work. It comes as a return from the various investments you made. Even dividends can be reinvested. And we've taught this whenever we teach at the Wealth Master class. We teach people to buy things like shares, not only shares, to go through various brokers to buy into America's S&P 500 or Britain's FTSE 100. And when the profit begins to come, don't spend the money you reinvested. The first 10 years, you don't see the benefit, the dividend on the large scale. But after 10 years, suddenly it begins to increase. Returns on shares, returns on interests, returns on dividends, the appreciation that follows. This builds your savings. It protects your money better than many methods. Maybe you don't realize the 50 pounds in your pocket today actually is less in value than what it was 20 years ago. Inflation has washed the value. 40 years ago, what a pound will do, your pound will not do today. And I came to the United Kingdom February 1984, 40 years ago. A loaf of bread, no matter where you bought it, whether it's Sainsbury's or anywhere, was 18p. I can see you say, wow. I don't even know how much a loaf is now. How much is a loaf of bread? £1. Okay, £1, 20p. Mrs. Anderson, where are you buying your own bread for £2? All right, if we go by Mrs. Anderson's shop, the amount she's buying one bread now will buy 10 loaves. Did you get my point? Money is losing its value constantly because of inflation, global inflation, national inflation, the local setting in which you are. But the way to make your money grow while inflation is eating up the wealth of people is for you to learn the power of returns. Somebody say returns. Oh, please say it louder, returns. So returns maximizes the value of your money. This kind of investment gets taxed lesser because you have not drawn. You put money in shares, the profit came, but you did not take both the money that it made and the one you invested. You told them to roll it over again. The returns becomes higher. The 8th the eighth R is the R of reach. I like you to say reach. Many of us think local. We dream local. We operate local. That's why we wake up in the morning and rush to work, come back home and have some food, watch television, and go to bed. You need to begin to see yourself as a global citizen. Have you noticed, whether it is on Instagram, Google, Facebook, or TikTok, people come up on your space that are not living here. Some of them live in India, and you think, what's this guy advertising to me from India? But you like it or not, you did buy, didn't you? We were going to Africa for this major crusade. We're going to give out clothes, we're going to give out food, we're going to give out things. But we needed the kind of ink we'll put on people's finger to show that we've given you, don't come back. We could not find that kind of ink in England. The one we found before election ink here in the UK can easily be washed, and those guys were smart. Last year, as we were putting it on their finger, they were coming back. I have not received at all. So we had to look for where you could get the ink that wouldn't wash easily. Lo and behold, the only place where we could get it was in India, because they have the largest democracy. And maybe they've had a problem of election forgery before. So they went and researched and made an ink that cannot be washed until 6 days or 10 days. So without leaving our home here, we spent over, I don't even know how much we spent. Okay, she's not, Dorothy is not here. But I think we spent over £1,000 to produce this ink we'll put on their finger that cannot be washed. So these people are sitting in their own home, minding their business, when we brought them £1,000. I don't even know how many rupees that is. That's what we're talking about, your reach. Someone say your reach. All right, so express self for a fee, that's a reach. Some of you are mathematical genius, but you've never packaged your mathematics and create 10, 15-minute classes which kids around the world can learn maths from you for a fee. Your reach. Broadcast for a fee, your reach. Appearance for a fee, your reach. Endorsement for a fee, your reach. The industry of being able to speak in places in America alone is $1.9 billion. In the United States, 55% of speakers get $7,500 per speech. I hope our speakers today will do it for free. Thank you very much. So listen, to reach, register a business. Some of you, you are fantastic. You've done training on counseling people. You say, but what do I do? Which problem have you found? The fastest way to make wealth is to find a problem and solve it. Tell your neighbor to find a problem. Find a problem and solve it. You are surrounded by money. There are problems in the United Kingdom. Loads of problems. Family problem, marital problem, counseling problem, juvenile problem. Don't let someone from another community be the one to come and solve it. Then they charge you. Get trained. If you need to train in speech, get livecoachtraining.uk.com to train you. Begin to make presentation. Define an area of expertise. These are 1 hour of reach is bigger than 1 year of salary. Yeah. 1 hour of reach is bigger than 1 year of salary. You could make up your mind, you train yourself, you say, look, I've noticed we have these young male black kids in secondary school. Let's choose one local government. Don't tell them I chose them. Tower Hamlets. Or new one. Young black kids, male, troublesome in school, but just needing coaching and mentoring. You package a whole training program. You sold it to the local government. Maybe you didn't know some people are already doing it and collecting money, and most of them not in our community. While you are wake up in the morning and rush to work, come back home, have some food, watch television. So identify a target audience, gain public speaking skills, create a professional presence online, have an agent to be your face. Reach should include several things: diversity and equity, sustainability practices, leadership for the 21st century, technology and cybersecurity, stress management and positivity, goal setting, prioritize success. Topics could include mindfulness, life change, conflict resolution, servant leadership, health and wellness, change management, innovation and creativity. These are all the things that can be. But the 9th R is the R of revolution. I'd like you to say revolution. Revolution. And this one, I move out of real estate. I move out of everything else. I'm saying our world is going through a revolution. Come up with concepts, ideas that are revolutionary. Forcible overthrow of a social order in favor of a new system is what a revolution is. You need to sit down when this whole one day of wealth class is over and ask yourself, what can I do? Disruption by technology is that which can be used to create a new market, providing greater efficiency, quality, benefits for the end user, disrupting the market. I'm sure you heard me when I asked the young man, I said, how have you disrupted the market? You see, I looked at the several things I could teach today, but I chose these 9 R's because I felt they summarize many things. Many of us stay in R number 1, which is a rate. Some of us have moved to R number 2, which is remuneration. But you need to move away from there and begin to create something which does not need your physical presence for it to work. But the most major is find a problem and solve it. Find a problem. And so you notice Nola, he noticed that people want food, clothing, and house. And that's the place in which he operated. Revolution can include wearable technology, separating blockchain from Bitcoin, the Internet of Things, computers with sight, interfacing from machine to machine, machine to human. Some of it sounds so out there, like it's not you. But many of these things are you. You can make it happen. Improve mobile technology, cloud storage of data. You know, if I were a biologist and I'm African, the first thing I would think of is biotechnology that can be inserted in people's body, has no consequence to their body, but can make them traced. The biggest problem right now in Africa is kidnap. I've just given you an idea. I wish I had the money to make it happen. When people are carried away, nobody knows where they are, and they may be next door, and they are looking for them 100 miles. These kidnappers are charging. In fact, one set of kidnappers recently in my country, they threw away the country's currency. They said, no, we want dollars and pounds, because it's the latest business. But imagine if somebody has a chip in their body. You know, what's all this use of us reading all this biology and microbiology and biochemistry, and we cannot apply it to stop these illiterates. And there are such microchips. They are now being put in animals. In fact, it's the way they study animals in places like all those big parks in East Africa, Serengeti and all. They will know that lion, okay, travel from Namibia, it's now in so and so place, because there's a chip on it. Why should an animal be more important than humans? I'm just telling you how to make money and you're sitting there. You better grab it quickly. Better cybersecurity measures, immunotherapy, programmed advertising, less invasive medicine, online education, 3D printing, online metaverse. There are several things. So the 9th R is the R of revolution. I like you to say revolution. And you need to sit down and ask yourself, what problem have I observed? How can I solve the problem? Then how can I scale the answer? Did you get that? Find a problem, solve the problem, scale the solution. You'll be a millionaire. That's the truth. You find a problem, you solved the problem, you scaled the solution, then you will create wealth. And while you are scaling the solution, disrupt the space and the economy. Look at me, one of the greatest challenges, and look at me. If you're going to start business, don't queue at the back. Please let me tell your neighbor, don't queue at the back. Because when you queue, you are just starting. The people in front, we've not even patronized them. Why should we come to you, number 10? Disrupt. Let them notice you. I made up my mind that when the real estate company we were going to introduce, I was going to do what they didn't think I could do. Everybody knows me, oh, Pastor Matthew. They've known me that way. I made up my mind, I'll put my face on it and I'll say, this is what we want to build. We disrupted the industry. I'm not going to tell you how much we sold, so I can get home safely. We disrupted the industry, and everyone said, who is Macarius? Those who have been around 15, 20 years. We sold what they did not sell in 25 years in 6 months. In 6 months. And they go, where are they coming from? Because I didn't come to queue. I came to change the line. Because I didn't come to wake up in the morning, rush to work, come back home, have some food, watch television. So listen, in wealth creation, you can stay at the R of rates, or you can move to the R of revolution. But any of the R's you choose, move away from the first two. At least from the R number 3, which is rent, your story begins to change. Your story begins to change. Once you scale anything, life also changes, story changes, everything changes. Thank you very much. Thank you.